And what did you get, Alan?
I got an AJ Fernandez New World.
Ooh, hold it up for the camera so we can see. What would you rate this on a scale from 1 to 10? Or is this your first time smoking it?
Yeah, well, hope a 10. We'll see though.
So for a 10, that's all we can ask for. And you got the delicious old fashioned right there. They do make a hell of an old fashioned here. What kind of cigar did you get, Emmett?
I got Fox's own cigar. They're very, very cheap. They have a little thing there, and it's the really dark one. You can get the blonde ones, but I got a really dark, smoky, chocolatey one.
Very nice.
I got the Leaf by Oscar Maduro. Highly recommend. It comes wrapped in this delicious little leaf, and it also doubles as a hat.
Lenny. I'm the general manager of Owlier Cigars in Scottsdale, Arizona. The top 3 cigars I think I'm smoking right now are probably, well, we'll break it down by company. I would say cigars is a little bit more detailed, but I would say, you know, Foundation is definitely a brand that I've been smoking a lot since 2015 when they broke at the trade show in Louisiana. Tatuaje is another old favorite of mine, and I smoke quite a bit of Roma Craft. All 3 companies are Nicaraguan based. All their factories are in Nicaragua, and that's kind of just what I'm smoking right now.
That's awesome. It's awesome. Have you seen the production of them? Have you seen them be made?
I've been to 2 factories since I've been in this industry. I've never been to Nicaragua. It's on my list of things to do, but I've been to the Honduras. I've seen Aladino, which is CLE's factory, and I've been to the Dominican Republic and toured the La Flor Dominicana factory as well.
Very cool. So do you think there's really a big difference in where they're manufactured, and do you have a favorite? Like, you know how they always say the cliche, like Cubans are the best. Like, what's your opinion on that?
I definitely smoke, if I had, based on what my smoking habits, I'd say that Nicaragua is probably my favorite region of tobacco, but you know, what I've noticed the most when visiting where I visited is just the the temperature of the people in those factories. You go to the Honduras and everyone seems very militant. It seems very disciplined and militant. Like when we went onto the rolling floor, one of the things I noticed is they take their chavatas or their cigar knives and everyone in unison just rattles them on the table as you walk in.
Oh, wow.
And I just kind of jokingly, I nudged Tom Lazuka of Asylum. I go, what was all that about? And he was like, they're saluting you. And I'm a dickhead, so I kept walking out and back in to see if they would continually, and they only did it a couple times before they're like, yeah, screw this guy. But then you go down to like the Dominican Republic, and music is playing and they're dancing around, and the Florida Dominicana factory is very cool because it's built like when you go to these countries, they don't build they didn't build a factory in the Dominican Republic to be a factory. They built out an old nightclub.
Oh, okay.
So when they tore out the nightclub, they kept the dance floor in. It's like kind of this gazebo with these Adirondack chairs in the middle of these rollers, and we got to sit with Anthony Gomez and sit and smoke cigars in the middle of all these guys just kind of rolling tobacco and just kind of and they're dancing around. So the feel is much different. It's more of a festive. It seems like the Dominican Republic, they're a happier people, or they're more jovial people, as opposed to. And I'm only taking 2 small samples.
Yeah.
Of I'm not saying all Honduras or all business, but it just seems like the Honduran factory was very yes, we're here to roll tobacco, and then we go home, and then we come back in the morning and we do it again, to where it's just like it seemed like an ongoing party in the Dominican Republic, where they're just kind of a little bit more upbeat.
Maybe that translates into the quality of the work that they're making.
I think there's something to be said about it. I mean, if you're happy with what you do, then it's going to reflect in the work that you make. I mean, we always tell people, like when customers get a bad cigar and they bring them like, well, this cigar, this is a bad brand. I was like, you got to understand, this stuff is made by hand. Every one of these, no machines are involved when it comes to rolling a cigar.
Yeah.
If the roller is having a bad day, arguing with his wife, or he's not feeling well, he's going to come into work and he's going to have a bad day, and it's going to reflect in his craftsmanship, right? It's not 100% foolproof. They do have a lot of these factories, most of them have a very stringent quality control. Yeah. And they try to pick out the segundos or the ones that don't make the cut, but just like any products, things slip through the cracks, and you'll get a bad one every once in a while.
Always a very good energy here. I love the artwork up here. I love that Kennedy one in particular. I would hang that up in my place. It's very cool.
It's funny because there's a shop in Vegas, I forget which one it is, but they have that same picture.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, tell us what you're smoking right now.
I'm actually smoking a cigar from the same brand you are. That's the Heikler Castle from Foundation. I don't have the band on mine, but this is a El Huehuense from the same company, Foundation. Nick Melillo left the company Drew Estate. I forget which year, but he opened up his own.
Oh, I love Drew Estate.
He opened up his own factory. So Nick Melillo is arguably the main reason for a lot of their brands. And when he left, he opened up his own factory, and the first cigar he made and introduced at the trade show, I believe it was in 2015, was the El Huehuense. It's the hardest pronounced cigar in the industry, but it's arguably one of the best. It's funny because there's Joe Rogan has a podcast, and he was smoking an El Huehuense cigar, so Nick went and made him a special box and hand painted. He has great artists working for him, or working with him rather, and they made him a custom box of cigars for him, and
that's so cool.
On his podcast.
That's so cool
to see the recognition from somebody who's wildly famous.
Oh yeah, I feel like that's some of the best PR you could possibly get in the whole world. Awesome. If you were gonna make a box for Rogan, what would you send him?
A box of weed, probably. I don't know.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. All right, Lenny, thank you so much, man. Owl Ear Cigar, everybody.
Thank you.
What's the story on Owl Ear?
So, you know, I'm gonna probably butcher this a little bit, so forgive me. It is very difficult to find information on the internet about Owlier. Owlier is, so we're a tribal shop. We're on the Salt River Pima Reservation, and the landowners of where our shop is, they're partners of ours. So when the owners built the shop and were thinking about names, they figured they'd tip their hat to a longtime relative of theirs. He was around a long time ago. He was a kind of a record keeper. He was kind of the guy you go to talk about, you know, growing plans and harvesting plans. He was an almanac keeper, and that stick that he carries was his calendar stick.
Okay.
It was a very prestigious role in the tribe, and the people who are partnered with us are direct descendants of this guy.
Very cool.
And he's actually pretty famous. His calendar stick is in the last I remember was in the Smithsonian.
Oh wow.
So that's kind of who he was. So as a way to kind of tip our scam likely. The way our owners, you know, kind of paid homage to the tribe by naming the company Owlier.
Oh, what era was he? Was that like an actual photograph taken of him, or was it a picture drawn of him?
Great question. He was around a long time ago. I don't know if it was. I would say between the late 1800s and the mid 1900s.
So it definitely could have been a real photograph of him.
Very, very possible.
That's
it probably
cool.
was.
That's awesome, man.
You know, it's, you know, I don't. I've tried to look up. Unfortunately, when I Google search Owlier, we come up. Which is good.
A good and bad. And bad. Mostly good for you guys.
But to find information on him, I've done it before, and it's a struggle. It took me like an hour and a half. I'm like, come on.
That's wild.
Come on, keywords. But yeah, that's the kind of the story that we are 51% owned by members of the tribe, and it's one of their relatives, and we thought it was our owners thought it was kind of cool, and that's how it came about. You know,
that's very cool.